topic of this conversation is flow states and making your life better. So flow is an optimal state of consciousness in which you perform at your best. Flow is also known as zone, getting in the zone. When you're in flow, everything just works really well. So there's 4 stages to flow. It starts with a struggle. Everything starts with a struggle. And really you should set yourself a stretch goal, because you need a stretch goal so it will actually challenge you to perform at a higher level. And then you push yourself to a certain degree, but at some point you have to take a break. And so then you might go for a walk or a run, or play a guitar, listen to some music, talk to a friend, read a book or something or other. And this is the relax and let go stage. And then the brain waves drop down from beta down into alpha, and then if you're lucky you'll get these bursts of theta, and that's the real creative stuff. And then you find yourself in flow. And then it's like the front of the brain shuts down and time goes away, past goes away, future goes away, and you're plunged into the eternal now. Critical voice shuts down, and you have like a coaching internal dialogue. It's like a spiritual space. And you find yourself in flow. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do a fantastic job, but it means you'll be able to do the best that you can possibly do. And then after that, the 4th stage is the learning and consolidation. And this is what occurs during deep sleep, the delta stage. And so this is why you've got to really eat good food so your body can produce all those expensive neurotransmitters you need to manage flow. And you get a good night's sleep so the body can process everything. So struggle. And sometimes people go, this is too much work. Why do I have to do this, do that? It's complain. It's just like, no, just shut up and just listen. Go and clean your room. And this is what you'll hear Jordan Peterson telling his college students. It's just like, go and clean your room. It doesn't matter whether you actually are a college student and you actually just have your own bedroom, or whether you're married or you're a business person or whatever. Everything always, you just bring everything back down, and what you do is you start tidying up your environment. Now, if you want to get yourself into flow, that optimal state of consciousness in which you perform at your best, you have to be in an environment in which you flourish. So what's environment? Environment, well, it's the physical environment, so it's also where you are in the world and the climate and all that sort of stuff, because it suits different body types. But also it's just like, I like film studios. I like being around filmmakers and that sort of stuff, So there are certain, and I like being around technology, all certain types of technology. So there are certain things which really like trigger flow states. Trigger flow states, all right? Not trigger negative states, trigger flow states. So you want to get yourself in an environment where it actually really starts to stimulate you. And then you just got to make sure that you wear the right hat, which brings you back to personality type. So you've got to know your personality type. Now there's a number of personality models out there, and I keep going back to the Myers-Briggs with their 8 cognitive functions, and the Big 5. And then I fine-tune it with NLP meta programs and values and all that sort of stuff. You've got to get an understanding of your personality type. So I'll leave a link in the comments box below, because Personality Hacker have got one of the best, the simplest ways of looking at the Myers-Briggs, which is quite useful. So you've got to know your personality type, because this is your genius. Because it's no good if you actually have somebody else telling you that you should be like them. It's not going to work for you. So you get yourself in an environment in which you flourish. You got to learn about your personality type. It takes a lifetime to do that. And then you've got to know what you get passionate about. You've got to know what your interests are. Because passion, interest drives flow. If you have to do something which you're not interested in, it's one of those drudge jobs, it's going to make it really challenging. And then what typically people will do when they feel like shit, they reach for drugs, alcohol, chocolate, distractions, etc. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get their brain to produce these neurotransmitters which make them feel good. And that's not the way that you do it. It's the idiot's way of doing it. The smart way is to hack your flow state. So you actually learn how to get yourself in flow and know where you are in that flow cycle. Whether you're at the front end where you just learn, you're getting focused, or whether you're at the back end of it where you're starting to get the anandamide and the serotonin. You get that serotonin look. So you got to know what your passions and interests are, and you got to really think about that. What comes to you naturally, and then you have to have a why. You have to have something. You have to have a purpose for why you do what you do. So this takes you back to your value system. Now we all have a values hierarchy. Depending on your personality type, it'll be organized slightly differently. It could be from top to bottom or bottom to top, whether you're a fundamentalist, or it could be this way if you're closely held values. It doesn't really matter. There's a hierarchy. So you'll have some values will be more important to you than others. And then you have the values you move away from and the values you move towards. And you've got to have both. You've got to have both. You've got to have a push-pull there, which gets you moving. So you got to understand why you do what you do. And I actually made a couple of videos on this a couple of years ago. Sadly, they're a bit out of focus because the camera messed up. But anyway, it's worth watching those values because you've got to learn those videos. You've got to learn how to elicit values. You've got to learn how to recognize when people are using values and their ranking they have. You've got to learn how to elicit your own values and see what actually drives you. So, because when it comes back to cleaning your room, you might go, clean my room, it's not that important. It's not, why should I clean my room? Why should I tidy up my life? Why don't I just get out there and be a social justice warrior and change the world? It's like, yeah, well, just get your own life together first. Just get your room together, Let's see if you can just organize your sock drawer, So you come back to tidying up your own space. And how do we do that? Well, we use questions, statements, and commands. So that's how we do. That's how we communicate with ourselves and others. Questions, statements, and commands. So we start out by saying, okay, time to clean your room. It's a command, isn't it? Go and clean your room. So you go, okay, you get your room. And then there's a question, well, where do I start? It's just like, command is start anywhere. And you go, well, where? It's just like, what do you see? You go, I see these pants. Okay, it's a statement. Pick them up. Organize them. And then put them back down neatly. So then what you did, you set an intention which drove your attention onto the task at hand, so you were able to focus in and concentrate just for a little millisecond. You also set your intention to take action such that you could complete a task, complete a goal, yeah? And in doing so, a number of things happen. So you're learning, there's a decision-making process, there's a strategy happening. A number of things happen because what you had to do, you had to focus in and make a decision. And you reached out and grabbed the pens. And I'm not a neuroscientist, I don't claim to be. I have a minimal understanding of neuroscience. But what I think happens is that the front end, what you're doing is the brain starts to produce some dopamine. And so by doing that, and it starts producing dopamine, and you start to focus in, and you start to become more alert, and then it's just like, what next? All right, because that feels good. Just a little bit feels good. And it's like, what next? It's a question, and you go, just get these pieces of paper here and just organize these pieces of paper and just stack them up there. And then you complete that, and then the brain produces 2 molecules of dopamine. And you go, ooh. And so then you slowly get into these little sub-activities, right? These little sub-activities in the bigger activity of tidying up your room. And then at the end of that, you start to get those feel-good chemicals, which is like the anandamide and the serotonin. You get a sense of satisfaction. So what we're doing is you've got to sort of map out some structure for yourself. So you've got to know where you are, which is your present state right now. You've got to know where you came from, which is your past, where you are now, and then you have to get an idea of where you want to be. Where you want to be, say, a year from now or 5 years from now. And don't put any limitations on that, but you've got to be realistic. Well, you do, but you've got to be realistic. And if you go to my website, you'll see there's NLP World Formula's outcome questions. Questions for setting goals, right? It's very structured. So you go there and you get a big piece of paper like this. This is butcher's paper folded over, and you can put down your past, you can write down your past, bullet points, present state, bullet points, and then you get your desired outcome, and then you get your to-do list, which is what you're going to take action on, because you achieve your goals not by keeping in mind the outcome. You might think, I want to move into the top 1%, I want to be a multimillionaire, I want to be whatever. And if you think about that, I want to drive that, big red BMW or V8 Commodore or something, And you can dream about that all you like. It's not going to do anything for you. It all comes down to actually taking action right now on these tiny little jobs like picking up the pens and organizing. You do that and you make incremental progress towards achieving the big outcome you have for yourself. So present state, desired outcome, and then you take action. So you've got to have the action, which is, what are you going to do right now? Okay, you start tidying up your room. You go through your computer and you just start cleaning up all those old files. Go through your phone, get rid of that bloatware. If it's possible, let me know how to do it. But you start tidying up things, so you tidy up your environment so that it actually works for you. And in that, you're getting yourself into a feedback loop, because you're experimenting. You try this and it just doesn't work for you. It just feels like shit. And you try this and it does something for you. And you go, And then you're learning about personality types and what your interests really are and what really turns you on and what your values really are. And in that, you're learning. And you have to have a value on learning. You have to have a value on learning. I was at my friend's on Easter and speaking to Zoe. She's about 17, and I said to her, what are you learning? She looked at me as if I was being a condescending, school teacher or something. No. It's like throughout the day, no matter what it is, you should be reflecting back. What did I learn? What do I learn? You reflect back upon your life experiences and what do you learn? And because what you want to do, you want to extract the positive learnings from everything. So even just listening to this, or let's say you tidy up your room. So you spend half an hour doing that. And then at the end of it, you think and you go, what did I learn? And you might go, well, I just learned how you organize. Well, yeah, okay, you learn how to organize things, but you're learning a lot of things that you can actually change your state of mind, that you can set an intention, etc., etc. So whatever it is for you. So you reflect back, you preserve the positive learnings, understandings will arise. And in doing so, it's quite interesting, because if you reflect back upon your life where there's negative events in your life, negative emotions, the negative emotions will disappear in direct proportion to the understandings that develop. And then you take those understandings into the future. So it all starts with cleaning your room. It all starts with cleaning your room. And then we bring it back to my mantra, which is where you set an intention, which drives your attention onto the task at hand so you can focus in and concentrate. So let's leave this video here for today. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and share it, and subscribe, all that sort of stuff. If you've got any comments, I'd like to hear them. Put them in the comments box below, and I look forward to seeing you again.